Yo, what's going on? It's the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. It's your boy, Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange, the Babinka boy, the Adobro, the leader of the Holla Holla homies in the Center Gang. And today, we're missing one of the amazing Ates, Miss Kataphorric. She's busy at Otakon getting her weeb on, but I do have Miss Viva Valentina. What's up, Tina?
Hey Patrick, happy to be here.
How you doing? I hope stuffy spa business isn't keeping you too busy.
No,
but I know it is. It is.
But this is a special episode. We're recording on a Friday, so about to take the weekend off, relax, recharge my batteries, and get back to it.
Heck yeah. Because we stay grinding. But I love what you're doing. What you're doing is amazing. For those that don't know Stuffy Spa, you know, my girl Tina, she's been handling business. If you have a special stuffed, dolly that you've loved forever, and it's now kind of, it's falling on some hard times because it had too much love, she will rejuvenate that stuffy and turn it beautiful. This is why she has millions of followers on TikTok and has been featured on the news all over the place. Shout out to Tina. I love what you're doing. Love you so much, Tina.
Well, thank you, Patrick. But enough about me. Our guest today is
let's bring her in.
Absynth from Lumpia with a Vengeance, up and coming Filipina star. Really excited to break into her backstory and talk about all the cool projects that she's getting into. So without further ado,
all right, I'm gonna blast that air horn. She's up on the screen. Air horns.
Hey guys, thank
What's
you. Up? Not too much. Caffeine levels are up. It's a good day. The vibes are good. Oh yeah, cheers.
Hey, I should have grabbed something, but imaginary. I'm gonna put it in post.
Today, it's got all my lipstick on it, but it says today is a good day. Really trying to tap into that as much as I can, every day. And this is such a great start, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to the homie Patricio Janelsa, Big P, the other P. He's West Coast P, I'm East Coast P.
Hey.
All the love. Ever since I've been hollering at him about Lumpia and everything, and seeing with the Lumpia with a Vengeance that you just steal every scene, and just amazing, and just watching your career blossom into what it is. And we're gonna get into it, but homie, I can't wait to see you just boom even more. It's all there. You got the total package. I love it, and so let's get into it. Let's start the journey up. Let's start the journey up. So just honored and happy to have you.
I'm just I'm speechless just hearing you say all that. I was like, wow, really? Wow. Like, I thought for a second you were talking about Pat, and I was like, hell yeah. He's stole every scene. That's right. And then towards the end, I was like, oh, wait, no, he's talking about me. Oh, dang. Thank you. That's so kind.
Miss Flowers in like 2 weeks.
I love flowers.
So let me throw it to Tina with our first question out the gate, as we do. Go ahead, Tina.
Yes. So April, we always like to know, where are you from? But where are you really from?
Yeah.
And where are your parents from?
Okay. So we're digging deep. Okay. So I was born and raised in Fremont, which is no one knew where that was when I was growing up. It was just this town on the weather map. Whenever anyone watched the news, anytime I said I was from Fremont, they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, but now that Facebook is across the bridge in Palo Alto, everyone knows where Fremont is, and it's completely blown up and condofied like crazy. But yeah, that's where I grew up, and I went to school there. And on the weekends, I would always be with my sister who lived in Oakland, and my grandparents were there, because that brings me to the next layer of where I'm from. When my family, my mom's side, moved here from the Philippines, they planted their roots in Oakland. And so that's kind of where everything bloomed from. So I would spend a lot of time there. And then on my dad's side, we would spend a lot of time in San Jose because my dad's side went there. So we're very, very, very Bay Area rooted. My cousins and I, like second generation. It's been a really it's been a great journey here. I moved out of state for a year to another place in the States, and it was just so different. It was so different. Okay, so my brother, he was in the Air Force, and I confided in him once because he's been all over the world. And I was like, I really miss home. I can't wait to go back. And he was like, verbatim, he was like, California, no, the Bay Area is a very special place just because of how diverse it is. It's so unique. And so to just hear him say that, having been all over the world and just finding this like sanctuary here, I feel so grateful to have experienced like my childhood and my upbringing here. And which brings me to the next part. It's like my grandpa, he had written a letter to my mom, to all of his kids. And my mom had shared it with me, and he was saying like, it's his dream to see what his kids and his grandkids will create in this new place. Yeah. And that so is like, dope. Yeah. And so anytime I feel like I can't do something or something just seems really challenging and out of reach, I just think about how like courageous it was for my grandparents and my aunties and my uncles to come to this entirely new, different place and make something happen. Like if they had the courage to do that, to charter the unknown, like I can do that too. I'm like not crossing an ocean. I'm just crossing a different layer of a distance, which is like what you are capable of and what your mind lets you do. Cause your mind is really powerful. And if you let it stop you, it's going to stop you. And it's just so crazy how like connected everything is.
Yo, I love that. And that's a perfect segue for the next, where we're going at. Nice. Did you have some, Tina? Because you sound like
I love that. Because what's the saying? It's like we're our grandparents' wildest dreams.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that's leading to where my question, generally what I tap on to tag with Tina on after she drops our first question is, and also if you see her writing, that's because she's like our official like quote writer and stuff that just hits. Like you hit her with something that like we're gonna use later on to just show love. But
you're surprised at how many times things echo in here,
resonate,
full of life lessons and zingers.
No, yes, for sure. It's important to record those. I mean, scientists have that too, right? Like the musicians back in the day, like they would dictate what they heard and the notes that they heard and the movement that they wanted. And there was someone else there to write it all down. And it's just so cool.
Exactly. I love it. We're all artists here. The artists are, that's what we do. We're empaths. It's just what we are. It's what we do. So to tag onto Tina's question is we're the manifestations of our parents' dreams, our grandparents' dreams, their hopes, everything. And what I'd like to do, since we're at the early part, before we continue with your journey, what do you know about their journey? And you shared a little bit of that. Do you know the story of your parents' love and how they came together and then when they decided to have you? Or do you know some stories with your grandparents, like you kind of alluded to a little bit, that we want to share in regards to your family before we get into some of your journey?
Oh my gosh, yeah, so much. So both my parents were singers, or they still sing now, but they had
Dope.
met. Yeah, they met at a concert where they both performed at, and I don't blame my dad. My mom has her voice is just like so powerful and angelic, and she's such a soft-spoken person and so humble. God, she's so cool. And to hear her sing and belt it out, it's like she's this completely other person. And so my dad liked that. And so he kind of started courting her, and she was like, no. But he was, and it eventually they ended up together, and they had me. And I continued their singing journey. But it's cool though, because my dad, when he first moved here with his first family, he he had a degree in art back at University of San Tomas in the Philippines. So he told me that it's the oldest university in the whole world. And I think I have to double check on that, because when he told me that, I was like, what? That's so cool. Like, what? And but when he moved here, he couldn't find a job doing art right away. And so he started as a dishwasher in San Francisco. And from that point forward, he had to hitchhike to job interviews, back in the day. And eventually, over time, he finally started getting jobs where he could draw for illustrations for our textbooks, and then also for like Lockheed Martin and all of those cool Silicon Valley places. So eventually he got to do that, but he also stayed true to the part of him that loved to sing. And so some of your listeners from the Bay will probably remember Channel 26, and there was like this segment where there was this variety show, and he hosted it. So he would sing, and then there would be these people who would bring like their dogs and do tricks, and there are other singers and just performers, and it was just this beautiful multicultural variety show. I think that kind of spoke a lot to how progressive the Bay Area was. Even though there was still so much work to do, there was already that that movement of showcasing different people and different skill sets. And my daddy, he looks Filipino. Like, to have a host who looks Filipino at that time, it's just like so cool.
Yeah,
that's my dad.
Hey.
My mom, she grew up in the province in the Philippines, and so when we're talking about like our grandparents' manifestations, he had so many hopes and dreams for her to become big as a singer, because I'm telling you, her voice is just amazing. And so he was really hoping that her talent would take her to another level of life, just take her away from the province. And even though she did her best, the times are very different back then. I mean, my parents are old enough to be my grandparents. And so at the time, like, they were having kids at a very young age, like 18, which is cool. Like, kudos to you. That shifted my mom's direction. So she couldn't pursue singing as much. But eventually, and she had my sister and my brother, and eventually they made their way here to the US. But it's so weird, because when you look at them following their hearts and still just having that intention of moving forward. They eventually had me, and now I'm singing, and it's crazy. I'm on a TV show and in a movie, and sometimes I'm just like, what's going on? I think my grandparents are still kind of watching over all of us
Totally.
and just making these things happen and are looking out. But it's cool. My grandpa, and I'll finish it here, but my grandpa on my mom's side, he was like a professor and a teacher, so he loved art. He loved to write books. He loved to illustrate children's books. He was a painter. Just what a cool guy. And poetry, oh man, huge fan. And then my grandpa on my dad's side, he was a fisherman. Part-time, my grandma would help him sell their fish that they found. And he joined the military, so he actually helped the U.S. when they were in the Philippines back in World War II. So
Wow.
it took a lot to get to this point.
There's a lot of
take just one
sacrifice.
person. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's so special, and it exudes how it's also in the DNA. It's in you, and I love that. And so you're paying homage to them by what you're doing, and I love that so much. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, again, anytime I feel like I can't do something, I have to remember, like, yeah, you can do this. If not for yourself, and you don't feel like you can do it for yourself, you could at least do it for them. So it's like we're a team. Without really even like being here together. It's like there's still because I gotta do what I gotta do to move forward so that my kids or my grandkids or my cousins' kids have a stomping ground from what I do, in the same way that my cousins and my family now have stomping ground that our grandparents and our ancestors had set for us. Like, you just gotta keep moving forward even when it doesn't make sense, because like when you're gone, there's still someone else living on after you. And you can't give up. Everything counts.
Exactly.
Every little thing you do counts. And people want to make us believe that we're so small, but really like we're so overpopulated, this planet. You can't tell me that one little thing you do does not matter. Like it's all the force, baby.
Hell yeah. Yeah. They try to label us as minorities, but we are people of the global majority. So let's not get it twisted. You know what I'm saying?
Right? We're all here together, man. It does not make sense that we fight.
Yep. All right. So this is perfect gateway to the next question, which is what would your parents tell us about a young April? And or if you'll reveal it, what are you afraid they may say?
Oh, that's funny. I guess my parents would probably tell you that they have these videotapes of me when I was like maybe 2 or 3. I loved watching MGM musicals growing up because, again, my parents were old enough to be my grandparents. So I was watching like Doris Day, Vic Damone, Julie Andrews, all of this stuff. And so one of my favorite movies was Sound of Music. And there's this one video that they took of me in like this dress and on a grassy hill doing the whole like do re mi song, like doing all the dance moves and singing. You can't even understand what I was singing, but I was hitting the notes, which is kind of cool. So they have that somewhere. It's a funny video. So they would say that. As far as something I wouldn't want them to say, I don't remember. Or maybe I'm choosing not.
Or maybe you don't want to say it, which is I see if I
can't.
I try for that because sometimes you it'll make them like say it without saying, "Oh, I didn't want it to be said." No, I love it. So what were you into? What do you remember? So growing up, tell us about growing up in the Bay Area, and what you were into. Maybe some stuff that you were into then but aren't into now, and just leading into what would possibly give us illusions to, the path you would take later on in life. We already know that music and singing is in your DNA, obviously, and then you would follow into that. But like, where would you get into acting or film? Like, just some of those nuggets of just growing up, living in the Bay, and then going into schooling, where you get a little bit more professionalism and you can actually get, education in regards to those passions.
Oh man. Yeah, so I grew up singing and dancing for sure. And then once I got into middle school, I took a drama class, and man, that was a trip. We had to do a monologue, and I think I picked one from like Joan of Arc or something, but I had just watched this Nicole Kidman film, and I just loved her so much, and I loved the way she acted, and I loved her accent, and so I tried to be like her in this monologue, and so I'm like being all emotional, and I remember the drama teacher like looking at me after I was done, just like, what was that? And I didn't mind it. I didn't mind that she reacted. I didn't know whether that was like a good oh my god or like a what the oh my god. But I didn't care. I was just like, that felt great. I want to do this more. So I started doing plays and did musicals in high school, and did Miss Saigon in college as Kim, which was so fun. That was like one of my favorite musicals. Oh, but my sister like really introduced me to musical theater when I was little, like when I was 4, because she loved Lea Salonga, and we watched Les Mis like all the time on the VHS. And so I just didn't know that it was acting that was the final piece until about high school, when I took drama, like for real, not with a teacher who looked at me like I was crazy. But yeah, and then honestly, the work ethic part, understanding that I could turn art into a living. I started working at a theme park at 15 and a half, going on 16. And for years, I was a performer there for their shows. Like we hosted Nickelodeon shows, and there was like Nickelodeon parades. So I don't know, I guess at a very developmental stage in my life, I learned how to read a crowd, I guess. And I think that kind of emphasized a lot of the empathy that I feel now, because I had been trained since I was a teenager to be able to notice everyone in the crowd and understand if they were having a good time, or if there was something off and I needed to fix it. And so it's I think that kind of played a huge part into why I love acting, I guess, because I want, the older I get, the more I realize that acting isn't so much of a selfish thing and a selfish experience. It's more of how you're serving the people watching, because you're actually telling a story that doesn't belong to you. You're just the person with the mic on the stage who's relaying it as best as you can. And like with comedy, we all go through so much like negative things in life, and we watch the news and it's all hard. And I think art is meant to be there to kind of help people just catch a wave and be able to swim a little longer while we're here. And so my approach to acting and performing is to just be like, hey, this is a space where we can all be safe and kind of just step out of this world for a little bit and expand our minds and grow a little more empathetic and just understand each other a little more. because when we're on our own, it's so easy to just think about what you got to do and where you got to go, and you kind of forget about how you're a part of a greater thing. And I think art unites us in that way. So that's why I love doing what I do.
I love it, yo. Just with the universe, it's so well said. Whew, that's why we as actors and artists do what we do. I love what you just said. That's amazing. Hell yeah.
I mean, right? We're literally made out of star stuff, like what
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson says in
Yep.
Cosmos. I mean, you look at how the universe moves, and it's full of destruction, and it's also full of creation, and there's this constant balance, and it's like that's exactly what we have inside of us too. And it's like you look at the news and there's so much destruction. It's like you have to have the artists there to create, to balance out that destruction. And I want to be a part of that movement that helps create and offsets the really bad stuff and maybe even fix it. It's big. It's going to take a lot of people to do that though. So
oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, ooh, yeah.
That's why representation matters so much.
It does.
In entertainment and in the arts. So.
It does. There's so much we can all learn from each other. That's the thing. It's like there's so much. So much.
I love it. All right, cool. Let's keep it. I have other questions, but I'm gonna save it till the other time periods. Mm-hmm. So we're in school, high school. Tell us about pre-college days. What did you want to do at that time? Because you didn't figure, or did you figure that you wanted to become an actor or get into filmmaking? What was the career path that you had in mind, and the career path your parents had in mind? Because as kids of Filipino parents, you know, arts isn't where we go for the rest of our life. That's for fun. That's an elective. That isn't career. It's either a lawyer, doctor, accountant, engineer. You know the bag. So what was that like for you?
Oh man, that was weird. I think I always knew that I always knew deep down that there was no plan B. I always wanted to do this, but I'll play the game and I'll do what I need to do. I'll tap into this and that and dabble here and there and see what works, and nothing worked. My parents and my family were always really supportive, but when college came around, it was like I really wanted to go to this acting and music school in New York, and that didn't work out. I remember doing the audition, and some events had happened where I was just like, okay, well, maybe this isn't going to work. I mean, school is also really expensive.
Mm-hmm. Especially out of state. Woo.
Oh, yeah. And I just knew deep down that was not going to be feasible. Because, again, my parents were old enough to be my grandparents, and they're nearing retirement. And it's like we're talking about hardships. I think even in high school, I just knew that I had to be present, but I also knew that I needed to be real. I don't know, man. That's a hard question, because there was just so much to that equation. It's like I had to actively be naive in order to know that plan A had to happen.
I feel that.
Like if I was real with myself and knew how hard it was going to be, I wouldn't have done it. And honestly, for a time there, I didn't, because I had followed what I had seen worked for all of my family prior to me, like finding your high school sweetheart and then moving forward with that plot and that life choice. And I did. And I don't know. There was just, it's a really hard thing for me to talk about, but what I will say is like just deep down in my heart, I guess I could just hear, I don't know, I don't want to sound super meta, but I just intuitively felt like a divine need to go to a different direction and actually pursue the arts. As crazy as that sounded, even to myself, and even though I knew the money wasn't there, I just had, it's freaking crazy. I had to do it because I was so miserable.
No, that's beautiful. That's what it's all about. You know, it's following your heart and your soul and your dream.
It's like knowing where your passion lies.
Yeah.
Like, what else could you have done? So no, that's natural.
Yeah.
And I tried. I mean, I tried really hard to make things work and to make ends meet, doing things like, you know, bartending and going to school. I didn't even finish my last year of college because life moved me in a different direction and everything was just a mess. Like, it's not perfect. Like, I know that the stories that I share on Instagram now are very like work oriented. Like, it's about my band, it's about the show, it's about the movie. But God, it took so much sacrifice to get here now. And it took so many years, almost a decade, and just a lot of heartbreak to get down to that lowest point. And I had to build myself back up, knowing that there wasn't money on the other side at the time. I mean, I'm still trying to make ends meet now. But, you know, it's just, especially with Instagram, and you see everyone just like portraying this picture perfect life.
Tell that. That's real talk.
It's fucking hard.
It
was really hard. And but we're here now and we're making it work, and it's just the start. It's just the start.
There we go. Excited. Hell yeah. All the love to you, April, for just sharing just that little, because it's we when we do this, it is straight up therapy sessions, let me tell you. And if we could give virtual hugs, you know, that's what we're sending right now. But if we could do it in person, that's what we definitely do.
I feel it. It's so warm.
So all the loves and the hugs right your way, because it is a sacrifice. I shared in the second episode how I pride where I'm at now by surviving a time where I almost committed suicide, and where, you know, you had to reach certain low points, I think, to, in a way, well, I know I did, in order to really appreciate what I had, where I'm going, and what I will achieve. So, you know, and you just, for me, that's where I continue to derive my strength. So I feel you in every way, you know what I'm saying? So all the love.
All love to you too.
Thank you. So I almost slipped up. One of the things that, you know, we are a Filipinx show and we celebrate our Filipinxness. What were elements of our people in our culture that you might have loved, and or, you know, we even talked on this, there's some self-hate there where, you know, we hated because we were different and growing up here in America. Can you talk on any of that and your connection to your Philippine side as well as part of your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I love how so many things. I love how musically inclined our culture is, or just, we're very caring, we're very fiery, we're very what is it? It's like we just feel things. We feel things so hard. Like, you don't want to get a Filipino person mad. You just don't. Like, we're really nice and we can be sweet, and like a good team player. But man, when you cross us, oh, it's fiery. And I love that. I love how like dynamic we are, and I think that's why music is so rich in our culture, because we needed some kind of way to channel all of that that hyped up energy, whether we were angry or we were really loving, like the way you love your daughter or your son or your brother or your sister, as much as like you hate them too. Like it's I don't know, it's so cool. And like we love to dance, you know, the tinikling, just culturally, it's just so beautiful to see how much talent and fight there is in us. But people don't really get to see that side of us very often, but it's there. And I love that, you know, the entertainment industry and the movies out in the Philippines, like I feel like they've definitely showcased a lot of that, and I'm really excited that we get to share that now here, and then adding an extra layer of a different experience, because we're telling stories of the Filipino American experience. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just cool.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything really to say about the parts that I don't like. I mean,
Did you have those moments where you felt embarrassed because say you brought a white friend over to the house? What's that smell? Oh, that's patisse. You know.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
No, so not with the food. Shoot, I mean,
Do you have a favorite food? A favorite dish?
oh my God, yeah, I love adobo. I love
Adobo.
I mean, I love what is that? It's with goat. It's gosh, kilawin? Is that what it is? And
I don't know.
I'll bring it when I see you
Yeah.
guys.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know what it's called,
Yeah,
but I'll bring
yeah.
it. I'm like so bad with names and band names and song titles. You don't want me in trivia. You don't want me on your team. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, let's take it back to the music. So let's go back into before we get to the acting again, because music is as well was something you kind of had in your DNA from your parents. When did you discover music for yourself? You said you're singing and dancing already, but that's like every Filipino, you know? So what was it where in school, like, did you take choir? Were you part of a church choir? And then where did you kind of like, you said you're performing, I think, yeah, that's well for kind of like a theme park stuff. So I'm assuming you might've did a little bit of that there. But like where you kind of wanted to make it a thing as well. So you knew that you wanted to, or was it both that you wanted, that was the career goal in college? Like singer, actor, was all the artists at the same time element for you?
You know,
or was one over the other?
So I started singing in church choir with my mom and my dad. And so music had already been tied into such a spiritual foundation. And so I think that's how like I fell in love with music so much. I grew up with it because it was such a huge part of my spiritual development too. So you're no kidding. This is a therapy session. I'm learning so much about myself right now. Well, because like I'm like, you know, at the time when I had to decide if I was going to actually pursue music, like all in, like give up everything, quit my job, fix whatever relationships were not allowing me to do that. And I'm like, why can't I just be normal? Why do I need to do this? And now I'm realizing it's because it was such a huge part of who I am. I know everyone says that, but when you're talking about it being so like tied in with you spiritually, you can't break that. You can't. And so I think that was always on the cards. I knew I always wanted to sing. I remember taking dance, and his name's Uncle Johnny. He was like all of our mentor in the Filipino dance class. a folk dance class, and you know, he was like, "Oh, so you sing, you dance, and you act. What's your weakest skill out of all of that?" And I said, "Probably acting." And he said, "So that's what you need to work on the most." And I was like,
nice.
"Okay, yeah." And so from that point forward, that's what I focused on, and it's so funny because now I'm in a show. Like, of all the things,
Hey, let's give them flowers.
It was my weakest thing that I ended up excelling in. So, yay!
Hell
very,
yeah.
very fun. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. It's hard to dissect that because it's so.
It's all good. If you can, cool. If not, you know, we feel the energy. That's the vibe. We're tapping into the soul. So let's keep it on the music. What are some of your influences that you are into, and then developing your professional sound, and then leading into forming No Rest Till Death, and talking a little bit about that?
Oh wow. Yeah. So growing up, I listened to a lot of oldies. I listened to a lot of music. You know, I listened to rap, I listened to jazz. I also listened to, again, Doris Day, Victor Moon, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. Like, there was such a prominent, oh my God, and watching like West Side Story as a kid. Oh, so cool. That's like one of my favorite memories. And so singing, I would say, was like my biggest connection to music. And I had a band in high school called Alvin and the Pussycats. Pretty fun stuff. And,
That's cute.
Yeah, it was cute. We had a sax player, Alvin. He's amazing. And then Carl was on bass, and Ian was an amazing pianist. Oh my God, guys, let me tell you. I remember it was like freshman year of college, and I was like, guys, we could do some really good stuff with this. Like, you're so good. You're incredible. Like, let's do this. And they were like, I don't know. And I was like, but I wish you could see the potential of like how talented you are. And they're pursuing it now, like
Love it.
years later. But I just wanted to say that because anyone who feels like they don't believe in themselves and they don't see their own potential, like, you need to get over that. Because if someone sees some shit in you, they're not lying. Like, you need to tap into that and listen to that, because we're only here for such a short amount of time. Like, you need to do it. And they're doing it now, which is great. But for your listeners who are like on the fence of like, oh, do I want to move forward with this band? Do it.
Yeah.
What was the question?
YOLO.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, influences and then getting No Rest to Death together.
Yeah. Okay. And so then I joined another band after that, and that kind of evolved from a Paramore approach of like alt pop rock kind of sounds, because I loved the Goo Goo Dolls, I loved Paramore, I loved all of that, just all of that. And but eventually, with time and with life, you know, and my personal story, eventually over the years it evolved to what No Rest Till Death is now. And so my boyfriend's the producer, and we were in a previous band together to what evolved to what is now. But like, we were really there for each other through some hard stuff. And it was music and our friendship that really healed what we were both going through individually at the time. And I don't know, it was a friendship initially through a common interest, and we didn't know at the time that our best friendship would also grow along with the music that was our medicine for what we needed at the time.
Yeah.
there was this yeah. So that's how No Rest Till Death is what it is now. And I was talking to Angela and everyone and Aaron at Bitch Talk Podcast, and Aaron had mentioned that our music was really healing, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that, but that makes sense because I didn't realize that what we were creating was medicine for us, and that actually manifested over to the other side, and it's just the force, man. The force
out there. That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. That's beautiful. So with the music, we have, I think when I clicked on your site, you have a couple tracks there. Are you working on another album? What is the process going on right now with what's the latest with No Rest Till Death?
Yeah, so we're talking about making more music. We just have a few current projects with other artists and other musicians that we have to finish up. Because oh my God, Sam, my boyfriend, the producer, he's such a great drummer, guys. He's so great. Oh my God. So he's like doing some hardcore albums with his home. And he's a great engineer, so he's mixing some projects with his other hardcore band friends, and then I'm like finishing these backup vocals for my Pat Benatar cover band. So once we like create, so we're parting the seas right now, and I got to do this side, and he's got to do this side, and then once that's all leveled out, then we can really focus on what we want to say. Because gosh, like right now you have to be really intentional about what you want to put out there. Because everything just moves so fast.
Yeah.
And which is why like now every little thing you say really does matter. Not even like get you in trouble kind of stuff, but even just inspirational stuff and motivational stuff. I think 2020 and like the political theater of it all really depicts how powerful your words can be, and they can either be words of destruction and cause destruction, or they could be words of creation and create like a better. You really need to be careful about what you create. Like not everyone gets to have that power and responsibility of the magnitude of their words. Like someone who like to just tweet whatever just popped in his head. I mean, and the fire that sparks from that, and then the hate towards certain groups that sparks from that. It's just like, so when we create this next album, you know, or singles, we are going to make sure we're very intentional about what we're going to say and the vibe that we put out there, because it's crazy, man.
No, I love it. And I can't wait. That sounds amazing. Like, it seems like the first project, because of everything you all both, you know, went through, and as from the other podcasts you went on, that it came out in the music, which is beautiful. And so I think that's why it's connecting and is so amazing. But now with that, you know, once you kind of get that out, then comes just the amazing other stuff that you will both, with your passion and love for music, will then resonate within that next project. And we can really hear your voice instead of, you know, that was your voice, but you know what I'm saying? It's it's a renewed voice, but a voice now coming out of experience now with optimism for the future. So
that's the beauty about art, right? It's like your book, it's just, sorry, excuse me, burping from the coffee. You know, you're living your life in these different chapters, and every chapter is different. And so, yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what comes out in this next one.
Can we give him a shout out? Does he have socials that we could, so people can check out what he's doing? And maybe, you know, because he's a badass drummer, like you said.
Oh my God,
get him some gigs.
So good. He's so good. So I think now his Instagram is Sam Hamwiches. He changes it sometimes. Yeah, Sam _ Hamwiches. He's also like doing triathlons, so you're gonna see that he's a chicken dad because we have a chicken, and he loves doing triathlons. So I don't think you're gonna see a lot of his drum stuff there, but I'll get him to play some stuff on the next album.
I love it.
He's on YouTube too, but you gotta like search hard to find it because it was like 12 years ago. But
all right. Amazing. Okay, so now let's put it out there with the one that puts you on the map with acting, the actor April. How so you followed that path now. Tell us the early stages before pre-Lumpia, Blindspotting, getting into the craft, learning the craft, and getting an agent. What was your art career, your actor career like, and what were some of the struggles that you learned from, and some of the highs and lows, that you were, just to make it, because there's a lot of no's until you get that yes.
So many no's, and a lot of people who are like trying to F you over too. So it was college. It was my freshman year, and I auditioned for the musical, and and one day, so I'm a freshman. It's all new navigating through all of it. And luckily, one of my friends who was a little older than me, he called me one night and he's like, "Yo, April, where are you?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm at work. What are you doing?" Like thinking like, "Oh, you want to hang out?" Like, cool. And he's like, why aren't you here? Like, everyone's waiting for you. And I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about? I don't know what are you saying?" And he's like, "There's a callback right now, your callback for a lead role." And I was like, "Dude, nobody, I didn't know, like nobody told me. I didn't receive anything to let me know that I did." And he was like, "Okay, well, let me see if I could talk to the director." I don't know why I'm still doing this.
You're still on the phone.
Yeah. Wow. You could tell I'm still really upset about it, that I'm forgetting that I'm even holding my hand out. So he's like, "I'll talk to the professor," right? Because the professor is the director, "and see if maybe they could see you tomorrow because they're holding more callbacks tomorrow." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that'd be great. Thank you so much." So they find a way to see me the next day. I do my monologue, I do my song, and this director professor is like not even looking at me. She's got this shit. And she's just like, "So why weren't you here yesterday?" And I was like, "I was not notified of how, when, or where to know that I got a call back." And she was like, "Oh, that's not possible because my student director emailed everybody." And I was like, And I'm looking at her assistant sitting right behind her in the pews, and she's just like, like we made eye contact, and then she looked down, and I was like, "This is weird. This is really weird." I go home, I look at my emails, right? Because apparently she emailed everybody. I didn't get a freaking email. I checked my spam. I checked my inbox. I checked my other email. I got nothing. My school email, nothing. Bro, the next day, I get an email for a callback for the ensemble. So she had my information the whole freaking time.
The right information.
Woo! She just didn't want me. I mean, I don't know what really happened, but what it looks like, she had my information the whole time. She just didn't let me know that I got a call back for the lead. Probably because I was a freshman. I don't know. Who knows? But that really was like, that was a turning point for me. I was like, okay, so this is a game. This is a political game, and it's not just about your talent and and what you put out there. Like, so that was a big learning experience for me. And after that, I just didn't really do musical theater as much. I did more plays, which was really fun. But yeah, from that point forward, I was kind of just like, okay, this is weird. And then after maybe about a year or two, I just stopped acting altogether because life had brought me in a different direction. And after years of not doing that and honoring that and not honoring, I was focusing on music more. But there came a time where, again, like I told you earlier, I was bartending on the weekends at the nightclubs. So I'd be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I would be working as a support person for a startup in the city Monday through Friday. And, you know, those startup hours are not your regular like 9 to 5. They can be so sporadic, and then just cycling through these different jobs that I would return to, because we all had really good relationships. Like I taught preschool at one point during college. So like I would substitute. So just like juggling 3 jobs all at once. And I was getting so sick all the time from stress. I wasn't even seeing my own like blood relatives because I was so busy. And I just couldn't show up.
Yeah.
For everybody. I was showing up for the government, paying my taxes. 40% of all of my work was going to that. I was showing up for them, but I wasn't showing up for my partner. I wasn't showing up for me. I wasn't showing up for my family. And it was so hard. And eventually it came to the point where I really had to reevaluate what I was doing, because my health was starting to deteriorate. And I was still young. I was in my 20s still. I was like, this is not, I mean, the hustle is real, but not to a point where you get sick.
Tell it.
And it was hurting my relationships and hurting me. And you know, some people think that you're being narcissistic when you decide, when you have that shift and you start reevaluating like what my life needs to look like, and you have to start letting go, and it hurts people and
boundaries.
people, yeah, I did not know what that was, and I'm still working on that now today. But I did not know what that was until it was a little too late. And one day I was just like, I told my boss at the record label, like, hey, I need to make some changes. And I tried balancing it all as I was making the shift back into acting. And I couldn't do it. But luckily, like, my boss was so supportive. And he was like, you know what, do what you need to do. If you need to take a few days off to do your auditions, cool. Eventually, I had to slowly phase out of that. But yeah, there was just one day that I was like, that's it. That's it. I can't do this anymore. And now here I am. It's
Hell
so
yeah.
weird. Now I'm here and I'm like, what? Is this really happening?
Yes.
I don't know. It's crazy.
You got to do it. You got to do it and approach it with renewed vigor and just build upon that. And yeah, now you're in a loving company right now, because we all been there. So let's celebrate, but let's celebrate these wins that came as a result of doing that, you know? So tell me the experience of meeting Patricio. I don't know who you met first, but booking Lumpia with a Vengeance and that whole journey, because that was a process for that to finally come. I'm sure you know, because it was filmed, and then, it was years in the making from the first Lumpia to then Lumpia with a Vengeance, and then getting Lumpia out there. That whole campaign, what was that like?
Yeah, guys, it was so serendipitous, because literally like 3 months or 6 months, I can't remember, but it was just later that year that I had decided to get back into acting. I saw the notification show up in my email for Rachel, and it said like, oh yeah, we're looking for someone who can play that they're in high school, a Filipina American. She's like nice but feisty. And I was like, what the heck? Like, okay, that's kind of me. I mean, I'm not in high school anymore, but why not?
Playing high school.
We got nice genes, right?
Hell yeah.
Right. And so I submitted, and again, it was so serendipitous because had I not decided to go all in, I would not have seen that, and I would not have been able to audition for Lumpia and get cast. And honestly, but what was so cool was stepping into that audition room, and it instantly felt like family. I felt so comfortable. I felt so confident to just like do my thing. And I guess we all just vibed, and I got the role. And so we filmed between LA and Daly City over the course of, I think, 2 to 3 years. And it's just, we all still hit each other up. We're all still very tight. I mean, I can't tell you enough. I know some people are probably like, oh, April's so nice. She wouldn't say anything bad about anybody. I only say that because I've heard that. Not because I'm like tooting my own horn. But no, I'm telling you, like, they're really freaking cool. I mean, I just feel so blessed. I really needed that. I really needed that uplifting, that trajectory to get me out of that place that was scared and like not knowing what was going to happen. Again, it was just like the balance of the universe. There was that destruction, and then there was the creation that spawned out of that. And it's so, we're talking about acting. I approach life and my acting career with that expectation, like, okay, I'm in a hard spot right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be that way all the time. Something's right there, and every day that passes, you're closer to it. And then when I get to that good part, I'm like, okay, I got to get ready for when shit hits the fan again, because it will. So just really enjoy things while it's here, and then so it's just like a cycle. I think there's like a for that. I don't know what it's called.
Absolutely.
But yeah, now we got that film festival, and it's taking us around the country. I'm really hopeful that
I love it.
We take it to the next level.
Hell yeah. So in regards to the craft of acting, as an actor, I've done both stage with theater and, film. You've done all of that. But it seemed like for a while, though, you were doing a lot of in front of the audience, like you said earlier, like especially with those performances at the amusement park and all of that. Is there a difference for you? Do you like, is working on a set, do you feel a little bit easier, or do you like that instant gratification of, that the impact of what you're doing with your role instead of kind of weaseling it out of your director? Did I do that take good, or should we do another take? How is it for you with the craft?
I just think they're both different worlds, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love theater for that element where it's like it's such a human thing, and you feel so connected to your audience, or to even just one person, to just like to be able to react together at the same time. It's so unifying. Again, it's that space that you get to just no shit's happening. You're all just in your own world, and you could step away from everything and just laugh together or cry together. Just take this journey together. I love that human element of theater. So raw, so connected through art, right? It's so great. And then with acting on film, like, yeah, you don't get to have that initial reaction, but I love how poetic every frame can be. Just that every frame is essentially like a photo with 1,000 words. And it's just a whole other experience. It's like, and I love film for that reason. You know, there's so many dimensions to it, like the cinematography and everything in the background and the pace of everything. You could play with the timing and slow-mo and speed things up, and it's just like a whole other vibe. But theater has its own like space to honor, and film can't do that in the same way that theater can't do what the film is doing. But it's so cool. It's so cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So back to Lumpia. I had to ask as an actor. That was you're fulfilling the actor in me with that question, because there's so much difference and so much, you get out of both, and you hit it on the head right there. So Lumpia with a Vengeance, our pals Patricio, Lawrence, my boy Earl. What was it like working with the crew with Lawrence, AJ, Patricio, and then with Mark Munoz and Earl Bailon, like you're kind of like your close partners there. I have a hoot working with Earl every week in our acting class, so I can only imagine what it was like being on set with him. He's a great guy. I haven't met Mark yet.
It was a party, like in the makeup room and on set when Pat would say cut, like we're instantly laughing because the take we just did was funny, or someone messed up the lines, or Ed needed to be told what his line was. Like it was just a party all the time, but professional. Like, how do you find that balance? They're all such really good, genuinely good people. I mean, it was like I was in a room with comedians, and it really just set the tone for the day, even if we had long days, and we definitely had long shoots, as all of us have experienced being on set. And sure, maybe morale was down a minute or two, but we all were there together, and none of those guys were ever crappy or moody. It was like we were all just a solid team. It was such a privilege, honestly, to get to work with Pat and Earl and Lawrence. And the cool thing about the way that I appreciate that Pat directs is, and I think this is why we vibe so well together, is that like he would bounce an idea. He's like, try it this way. And I'm like, okay. And I would do it. And then he's like, okay, we'll try it this way. And I do it. And it's just like, that was a nice way to keep things fresh. And like, I know some actors might want like the creative freedom to do everything. And they are also the director, and they'll say what they want. But this particular set was just so fun because we would try to make each take more fun than the last. And that is what I think made Lumpia as quirky as it is this second one. And I think for the viewers who watch it, I think you can just tell that it's like, wow, okay, this is really corny, but I dig it. I can laugh
exactly.
at it.
Yeah.
And again, that's just the space you create. It's not it doesn't have to be, no film has to be perfect. It's just something has to be said, something has to be done. And in this case, like, our mission is to make people laugh. And I think we did that.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And to me, made you a star. It was a star maker in your performance. I loved it. And girl, like, they made the spinoff, because Pat being who he is, and with Lawrence with them loving comic books, that's where Kid Heroes kind of came from in a way, as well as the YouTube stuff that he was doing way back when. But like, you got comic books, homie, and you've got like different artists drawing you. How dope is that? You're on t-shirts, merch. You're gonna have action figures shortly.
I don't know. Oh, that'd be so cool. I don't know. I do not. I wake up or just come to sometimes, and I'm like, the fuck is going on here? Like, I'm drinking coffee and I'm looking at my shelf and I'm like, wow, I'm on that cover, that cover, that cover. I need to go to bed. Like, this is too much. And man, it's so weird, but I think the way that it makes me feel, and I think this is why it's so overwhelming as an empath, is because like I know how much work and time and years and hardship it took for that one individual cover to be made. Like it took Pat wanting to make the first Lumpia movie and all of his friends having the time and the energy and the fun and like, yeah, let's do it. Like all of those people getting to do that first movie, and then Pat still wanting to make films in college and after college, and all of his friends wanting to reunite again to do that film, and then all of the other actors and all of the other team players and crew who were able to do this. And it just reinforces and inspires me to continue showing up doing what I love to do, because it took that mentality of every single one of those people, one of those team players, to show up doing what they loved to get that cover. All those covers, and for the artists, like for them to keep doing what they love and showing up at their drawing table and playing their music, whatever it may be, and just getting in the zone. Just like it just reminds me to just keep staying in my zone. Just find the zone and stay there and unapologetically be the Michael Jordan of your craft. Like just don't even all that shit. Just don't even pay attention to that noise. Don't let it infiltrate you. It's just you with the ball in the court and the freaking hoop. And you just maneuver to just do that. And again and again. And Michael Jordan's tight.
There you go. While we talking about stars,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it because that, again, amazing that you killed it on Lumpia, and then you have all this other merch, and then it's still going to be going. Because I know, I'm not going to talk about what I've talked with Pat and some of the rest of the crew. There's so much more that's going to be told. So I can't wait. I can't wait. But and it's all because you're a star. And then what do stars do? They go to stars. You like that segue?
I did. I was not expecting that.
Blindspotting, yo, one of my favorite films.
Me too.
Just an amazing film, and one that I highly recommend to so many people. Now it's a series on Stars, and you are one of its stars. Can you talk about landing that role, booking that gig, and being a part of this project?
Where to begin? Shoot, dude. You know that role was an open call, right? Like what? It's I do not take it for granted at all. At all. I fully embrace it, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be able to work alongside, Jalen Barron, David, Rafa, Helen Hunt, Benjamin, just being in this space with so much creative intent from like each of them is mind-blowing, and I'm so humbled to be able to sit next to them. Granted, like we had, it was during COVID that we filmed this, so everyone had their masks on, and the actors had to have their shields, but that is also telling that like even a pandemic shouldn't stop your art. Right. Like you keep pushing forward, and that's what we did. And to be a Filipina American in this cast that is so determined to represent their home. Man, it's so cool. Like Rafa, the showrunner, and he also plays Miles, and he wrote some of the episodes too. Oh yeah, he played Miles in the movie too. I asked him one day while I was getting my hair done on set, I was like, so why did you pick Jackie to be Filipino? And he said, oh, because I grew up with Filipinos around me all the time. Like, they're my family.
Oh,
We spent so much time together, like in my entire life growing up in Oakland. And I was like, man, that's really cool. I'm happy about it. Thanks.
yeah.
And the best way I can describe it is, do you guys remember the movie Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey?
Oh yeah.
And how he was like looking in from another dimension, like looking in and seeing his daughter.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I feel like every single moment of this experience of being on the show, from seeing the initial casting for it up until this very moment, like it's just a snapshot of every single time, and it just brings so much joy to my heart to be able to have that experience in my life, and to be able to look back wherever dimension we're at later in the afterlife, or if we space travel and we find that a black hole takes us to another, whatever, I don't know. But to just know that in this small blink of an eye in like the universe, that I got to be next and work next to these creative minds. It's so humbling. So that's how I could answer that question. I don't know how to say it, and it's so much. So I'm so happy. I'm just so happy, and I hope it get picked up for season 2.
Hell yeah.
And okay, one more thing to answer that question. I feel like I remember texting David and Rafa before the show premiered, and I was like, guys, because 2020 had happened, George Floyd had died, the hate against Asians, just so much, and the Black Lives Matter movement, there was just so much dialogue and so much polarity, even within our own community, on this dialogue. And I texted them saying, like, the world just needs this show, and it's not even me out of the equation. Like, the world needs this show, because there are some folks in our own community who grew up in a different time, had a different experience than we do, and so everyone is relaying their own voice through their own experiences. But this is why, like, I feel so privileged to be on this show at a time when art has a way of getting into people's hearts.
Absolutely.
And like in our own community, outside of our community, just to reframe the dialogue at a deeper level, outside of discussions, right? Like, it's looking at a painting. I told this to Ben, who plays Earl in the show. I was like, it's like a painting. Art is the show, or just film in general. It's a painting that moves, and the viewer gets to watch it. But that's the thing. Like, the view, when we're debating, it's like rah, rah, rah. It's so instant. You don't have time to really digest what the other person is trying to tell you. But with film and like with the show, it's like people can sit there and watch it and just let the message marinate. and just let it sink in, even if it can just like reshape a heart or two, make someone a little more empathetic or a little more compassionate. Like that will go so far, like 2 generations, 3 generations. So like I feel so privileged to be a part of a project that's going to maybe reshape some people's hearts.
Yes.
Yes. And we're privileged to have you come on and to have you speak your mind about it. Like this
Thank
is
you. It's a privilege to be here.
Yes.
You guys have been working on this show for so long. Like I'm thank you for letting me on this.
Absolutely. Just like hearing different stories and then just being able to hear people's stories of where they came from and how they came up and how they've made lives for themselves. Like that's our Filipino experience. So we have one final question for you.
Okay.
And because we're the nerds of color, we always do a nerd check. And
Okay.
nerd check is,
This is a fun question.
Okay.
yes, this is your favorite nerdy subject or the one thing that you are a nerd about that you could give a TED talk about.
Oh my gosh.
It could be anything. It could be anything. We've had people
literally
that were
anything.
nerdy about fashion, nerdy about stocks, nerdy about, you know.
I wish I was nerdy about stocks. Man, those bills be paid. I think I'm a nerd about musicals. I love musicals.
Oh,
yeah. So probably that. I also, I don't know, I guess I like to nerd out about space and
space nerd.
yeah, it's cool. I don't know a lot about it, but I'll talk about it so I could ask questions at the TED Talk and get some answers.
You can have an engaged conversation about it. There we go.
Exactly. And I would be
You don't have to know everything about it to be a total nerd about it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, can we also apply that to life? Like, not everyone has to know or think that they know everything. Oh, it's so exhausting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll host a TED Talk and I'll ask the questions so I can learn and everyone can learn. That's what I'll do.
The TED Talk is you.
Flip it.
Tell me about space.
Yeah. You. Just like Albert Einstein. You tell me what you know.
I love it. April, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This was really fun.
Definitely. So what she's saying is we need a space musical. We need a space musical.
Get out. Star Trek the musical. Have they done that yet?
I was going to say, I was like, has that been done? Somewhere. Been done.
Some alternate reality.
But there needs to be more.
Yeah.
It does. There will be. So we'll need to talk about it.
Well, kind of also the final thing is how can they reach out to you if they want to follow you online and see what you're doing and just continue to show that love, and see what's good with what you're doing. Hopefully we're going to get a Blindspotting 2. I can't see why they wouldn't. It's one of the greatest films ever, and the series, you're killing it. And and where can we find you more? Yeah, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram under April Absynth. And our music is up on Instagram too under No Rest Till Death. We're also on Spotify. And it's Till with 2 L's. I know some people spell it with 1 like me, but I felt like extra that day when I made the name. So No Rest Till Death. And then on TikTok, I only have like 1 video up. I don't know what to do on there, but we could hang April Absynth on there too. And aprilabsynth.com. So that's
there you go. I appreciate that. So for all you audio listeners, there you go. And if you're watching this as well, I'll have all that in the description so you can do those quick follows like me. I think I already did that, but I'm also sending that friend request too on Facebook so we can keep tabs. I want to, continue on this journey and show love and light and show support.
Yes.
Yeah, we're on Barcada now, homie. There's no getting rid of us. You know what I'm saying? We're fam. We got to take care of each other.
We are.
So there you go. Thank you so much, April.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Boom. There you go. April Absynth, Rachel and Lumpia with a Vengeance, Jackie and Blindspotting, amazing musician with No Rest Till Death with her partner. and just that soul, that vibe, that energy. To me, she's a star. So it's only appropriate she's on Stars. That plug. I kind of that good little segue. But yeah, just an amazing talent. Ever since I saw her do her thing, I shouted out my boy Patricio. Shout out to Patricio Janelsa. And I was like, yo, she's going to be a star on the rise. And I can't wait to see what she's going to do in the future. And so, yeah, I've been talking all about her to my other filmmaking friends. And we just saw that vibe, that soul, that energy. Tina, did you get that, from that conversation?
Oh, I love her. She's so sweet. Absolutely love her. I think it was really cool to talk a little about her background and how like art really is like in her blood, and that when you have art in your heart, you gotta let it out. Like,
I love that. That's a good one. I like that. And then I also want to add, and I'm sure, I don't know if it was felt, if you felt it, I kind of felt it in a way, and I'm curious when I see this playback go, while we're pursuing while we're pursuing our dreams, they might get stalled, and then you deal with it, and then you come back, but then it could still be an underlying issue, to still rise above and keep pushing and smile, but then still, it still hurts. And I felt that, so that's why I kind of watched, and just, well, not watch, but just try to, be mindful of that. And we've done a lot of these interviews, and so I think that has also helped schooled to be careful and I'll be respectful, but I love just how she's dealing and making her dream still happen and pursuing that. You know what I'm saying? There's a part in her life that she's still dealing with, obviously.
Yeah. And just the message of how like art brings us together, and that the messages that people convey through art are so important. And again, that just goes back to how important representation is, and representation in the arts, and how important it is to see Filipinos in the media and Filipino actors and just doing it and winning. So thank you, April, again, for coming on and just sharing that with us.
We can all do it. We can all shine, and we can rise above what we may have and continue to give art. I love it. So good. Great conversation. We're going to have many more on the way, and hopefully we can have April back. Because again, like I said, she's a star on the rise. She's a shooting star. So there's definitely going to be a lot more projects coming our way, and hopefully we can bring her on if her time permits. Hopefully she won't get too big that she'll forget about little old us, that we can just show her love and highlight that journey.
Keep up with on the ShoPowSho,
yes.
Instagram, Facebook, Nerds of Color, Facebook, YouTube. We also have the ShoPowSho Patreon, where we have our ShoPowSho and Tell, and we also have a ShoPowSho coffee. So if you are liking what you're hearing and want to support us that way, buy us a coffee. It'd be great. Exactly. And you can also find me at Viva Valentina, Viva.Valentina on Instagram and TikTok, and Viva Valentina XO on Twitter and chess.com. Check us out. And Patrick, where can they find you?
Excellent. You can follow me at Kuya. No, it's not. I'm Kuya P. I have like a whole saying. If people go back and watch these, like I have a rhythm with it. So I was thrown off my rhythm.
It back to you.
I love it. Make sure you follow Miss Viva Valentina, Viva Talent XO, all of that. I love her. I love you so much. And Kataphorric, our other amazing ate, who unfortunately is being a weeb right now. But that's not unfortunate. She's having the time of her life. She's having fun at Otakon. So shout out to Kat. Stop buying everything because you still got other stuff to do. All the love to Kat. Nerds of Color, ShoPowSho, that's on everything. So for me, Kuya P, you can follow me at Astray since 1977 and at Temple Far East. One of those is Twitter, one of those is IG. Over on TikTok, the legend Kuya P. And of course, over at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. We love y'all so much. Salamat po, maraming salamat to our guest today, April Absynth. Again, can't wait to see you just blast off into the stars like you are, because you are amazing. And as always, Tina, I love you. Kat, I love you. Salamat, maraming salamat. Mahal kita. We're out of here. Boom.
what's up? It's April Absynth coming to you from Blindspotting Season 1 and also Rachel Lumpia with the Vengeance. Check it out. I'm on the ShoPowSho. Really excited to get down on some details, some history, some inspirational stuff. And I hope you guys listen in. And until then, feel free to hit me up on Instagram at April Absynth or go to my website, aprilabsynth.com. Or if you feel like not listening to me talk and you just want to hear me sing, well, you don't have to hear me sing either. You could just vibe. Anyway, we're No Rest Till Death on Instagram and on Spotify. I hope you enjoy the music. I hope you enjoy the shows. And I hope you enjoy our time on the ShoPowSho. Peace. Hey guys, what's up? It's April Absynth. Coming to you again from Blindspotting and Lumpia with a Vengeance. And I want to talk about what my Filipino heritage means to me. And for all of us, I feel like we're fighters every day from our ancestors, through the wars, through the oppression. We were always finding our way to fight with grace. And it shows in our dances, it shows in our music, it shows in how we carry ourselves, at home with our relationships and in the workplace, whatever circumstances we were born into, whether it was in the Philippines or in the US, second generation, whatever our circumstances were, we were always just fighting. And I think now more than ever, it's important that we continue to, because we're making waves, and we would not have made a big of a wave as we have now if it weren't for those before us. And it's our duty to continue to make that wave even bigger. I mean, we got the wave Marvel character, like we got to show that that's exactly how we are in real life too. No matter what oppression comes, we are fighters and we're soldiers, we're warriors, and we got this, whatever comes our way. Love you guys. Keep on fighting.